Hey everyone, in today's video I want to show you how to edit with Filmora 10. It's going to be a beginner's guide to Filmora 10, and if you've never edited a video before, it's okay. This is the perfect video editing software to start with. So I'll walk you through step by step on the entire editing workflow using Filmora 10. Now there are two versions of this software and they are not free, although you could try it completely for free, but to get all the access unlocked to all the features, it does have a paid option. I'll show you that too. Now you could compare Filmora 10 to Filmora Pro and see what your needs are. If you're just editing for YouTube, Filmora 10 is perfectly fine. But if you're doing more advanced editing, take a look at Filmora Pro. And this really blew me away. I've been editing professionally for 15 years, and this had a lot of the advanced features of the pro editing softwares that I use, but at the same time, it was so much easier to get started with and edit your projects with than all the other softwares that I've used over the last 15 years or so. So let me show you step by step on how to get started. I do have an affiliate link in the description below to Filmora 10, so click that, download it for your Mac or for your PC. It's available for both, and let's get started editing our first project. So again, the first thing is get Filmora if you don't have it installed on your Mac or PC on this website. Again, there's a link below. And I went ahead and installed it here. The installation process is pretty straightforward. And let me go ahead and walk you through step by step what you need to do for your editing. And I'll walk through this layout a little bit more. I'll just point out three different things here. This is where all your media is going to be. So your images, your videos, and your audio will all get imported here. That will be our first step, and I'll show you the import process. Next to it is your preview and your program monitor. This is where you're gonna see all your different clips and your finished product. So this is a video preview window. And down here is called a timeline. All your editing is going to take place over here. So that's all we need to worry about. Just about everything in Filmora takes place in these three different windows. The very first step to editing is we need to import our media. So you just click over here to import. And I've created a folder here on my desktop with multiple different clips that I've shot with a drone. I have a clip that's the introduction to this video that you just watched, so you could see how video and audio work together. And I have some music I'm going to bring in too. So to bring anything in, if you want to just bring one clip, find it on your computer. This is just on my desktop here. And clip one, I could just press open and it's going to import clip one right over here. And for faster editing, you could work with small proxy files. We don't have to worry about that right now. I'll just press OK. And when this gets imported, you can see it has a little video icon here. And photos have a different icon. Music has a different icon. So you could get an idea of what this is. Anytime you import something, you could go ahead and double click that and then look at it over here. So you could press play over here to see what that shot looks like. And you could see it's reducing the quality when I press play. It's just doing that to make this a little bit easier for me to play back on my computer. So don't worry about that. It's not actually reducing the quality, just on the playback. Now to bring in more clips here, more video clips, I'm gonna double click here instead. And you could just select more. And if you hold down Shift on your computer, you could select multiple different clips all at once. So I'll go ahead and select all of these and I'll press open. And it's gonna bring clip 1 through 8 plus the introduction that I'm gonna show you. And you will bring photos here the same way, and you could use photos in your edit. And finally, let me bring in music. This time I'm going to right click in this window and I'm gonna press import. That's control click on a Mac, and I'll press import here. And this time I'll just select my music here. We'll talk more about music too and where I got that clip later on. And one last way to import, you could press import, this drop down here, and import an entire folder, or import from camera or phone, or download from Facebook or Flickr too. So a lot of options for bringing different media here. If you don't have any media and you're just trying to see if this is a good software for you, there are sample videos here on the left side. So you could select this and you could go ahead and work with these in your edit. So if you don't have anything to edit with, you could just use these samples. And there's sample colors too for creating different backgrounds. And they're all available to use for you. Let me go back to my folder over here. Again, I'm under Project Media. Under this folder, everything has been imported. I could change the view here, so I could view by list instead of those icons. I always like these large thumbnail views, so I typically don't change that. And you could always press record here and record from your webcam. If your computer has a webcam, you could record voice over here and you could record your screen. So those are all available to you right within the import window. Let's go to step 2, which is adding media to our timeline. This section down here where all our editing is going to take place. To do that, you could either select a clip and just drag it and then just bring it to the very beginning. You see the very beginning of it? It should snap to the very beginning and let go. And sometimes you'll get this pop-up. Do you want the settings to match your video clip? Now, I'm not going to get too technical with that, but typically you do want to match the media. So I'm going to just agree to match the media. Now, I should mention, if you know where you're going with this video and you don't want a typical size video, you could come up here to File, New, and start a different size project. So one-on-one, that's a square shape for Instagram, or vertical video for Instagram story or TikTok. You could choose those here. It will close and save this project if you do that. So if I select Instagram, it's gonna ask me to close that project and start with a new project. And then I will have to go through the entire process again. But typically I just start with the 16:9 project. Another way to add a clip is up here. When you have a clip selected, this one got a check mark because it's now down here on my timeline. But if I select another clip here, I could right click or control click on that and I could insert the clip. So if I press insert, it's gonna insert it in the beginning over here. So this is clip number 3 now, and it pushed clip number 1 over. So now this red line is your play indicator. So depending on where it's at, that's the preview you're gonna see up here. So if you bring it all the way to the beginning here and then press spacebar, that will start playing the clip that you have your playhead on. And the third way, and my favorite way to add a clip, is you could double click on a clip. So I'll select clip 6, double click it, and it should play right here on the right side. Let me pause it. What if I don't want this entire clip down here in my timeline? What if I want to decide where it starts and where it ends? Well, you could do that over here with your keyboard. So you could go ahead and press play, and let's say you want the clip to start here. You would press I on your keyboard, I. That creates an in point, and then keep going. I'm just gonna keep going to where I want this to end. Let's say I want it to end here and not at the end of the clip. I could press O. So the in point and the out point are one of the most useful ways to select the clip from here, decide where it begins and where it ends, and then drag it from here to your timeline. So that's probably my favorite way to bring in clips to edit down here, is by double clicking the clip, let it load over here, preview it by pressing play on it, and then putting in and out points using I and O. You could also use these. This is your mark in and your mark out. So you don't have to use the keyboard shortcut. You could use these two options and then simply drag and drop the clip down here. Step number 3 is all about editing now. Now, step 2 was, deciding where media begins and ends and adding it all down here to our timeline. Now we want to edit and trim down here. So the very first thing I want to show you is in your timeline, you could decide the order of the clips. So when you start editing, that's not the way it needs to stay. Let's say clip 1 needs to go all the way to the end. I just grab it, bring it all the way over to the end and let it go. Now, this area where there's nothing, let me bring my playhead over here. If you finish your project right now and there's this area that's blank, it's going to play as black video. You don't want that typically. This is what I need to do. I need to select, so I'm just dragging and selecting all the clips here, and I could just drag them and let them snap to this other clip. So now it filled up the black area. Let me grab this playhead here. I'll bring it back and press spacebar. Now I could see go from one clip to another clip. And then when it gets to this cut right here, it's gonna go to the next clip. So that's how you would change the order of clips. The next thing is sometimes you want to trim a clip that you brought down here. Maybe you didn't select the in point and the out point and you brought the whole clip down here, but now you want the clip to start a little bit later or a little bit earlier. How do you do that? It's simple. Just bring your mouse over here, and when the arrow turns to this bracket, you could grab and drag your clip and let go, and now the clip starts a little bit later. Same thing at the end. I could come over here, and when I get this bracket here, I could just drag in to make it shorter. And I could do the same thing if, let me bring another clip down here. Let's say this clip I made shorter. So I'm just gonna drag it and make it shorter here. But what if I decided now this clip needs to be longer? Same thing, as long as the bracket is at the end, I could grab it and extend it out. Now it's gonna hit a wall at some point. It's not gonna let me extend it indefinitely because the clip is only this long. There's not any more information on that video clip after this. And now I could go here to the end, press play, and see how that ends. We looked at changing the order of clips. You could easily just drag it and drop it. It's just very simple to change the order of different clips. I could drag my entire clip sequence here and just move them over anywhere I want. I could move 2 clips over, so I could make room for another clip to go over here from my media panel. And let me show you another editing tip that's gonna come in very, very handy. Sometimes you wanna split a clip into 2. You just don't wanna drag and make it shorter. You wanna split it to 2. To do that, you just bring this playhead right here where you want to make the cut. And there's a tool for it right here, the scissor tool. It's the split tool. Select it, and it turns that clip into 2 separate clips. Now I could select this part and press delete. And just like that, it snapped the next clip onto it where I made the cut. You could always undo what you did too. There's this arrow right here to undo, and then the one next to it lets you redo. So sometimes when I make a split, is because I want the second part of that clip to be somewhere else. So I could go ahead and drag it here to the end and then drag these 2 and bring them back. So now it's gonna go from the sunset right here, if I press my playhead, to this shot and then back to the sunset. It doesn't really make sense for the storytelling because it went from sunset to daylight back to sunset, but you get the idea here of how you can move clips around. And finally, in your timeline, you could change how you view things. So sometimes your timeline gets really large, so you have this minus and plus over here in the slider, where you could go ahead and shrink or extend your timeline to see a little bit better on what you're working with. So I use this one quite often. It's this minus and this plus sign or the slider to get a better look of my whole edit. Now let me bring in another clip down here that has sound. Now this blue section is actually sound, but these clips were shot on a drone, so they're actually silent. Even though it has an audio track, there is no actual audio there. Let me bring a clip. This one I know has sound and video. I'll drop it down here. You could see now when it has actual sound, you get these audio waveforms. So right here, those are called audio waveforms. So now I have my video and my audio together. Now let's say sometimes you want to add video on top of another video clip. So here, let's say I'm talking about Filmora 10 and I want to add another clip talking about it over on top of this clip. Well, the way to do that is you could just drag another clip you have and bring it right on top, and it creates a second video track. This is my video track number 1. This is my video track number 2. So if I go back, it's going to go, let me mute this. It's going to go from me talking to that shot. And then when I'm done here, if I come over here, it's going to go back to video track number 1. So this is a great way to layer different contents on top of each other on different video tracks. This typically is called B-roll. Track 1 is me talking, and then I will usually add B-roll to track 2 of what exactly I'm talking about, or it's called a cutaway sometimes. But I use this technique often. I'm working with 2 different video tracks, one dedicated to a talking track with a face, second track dedicated to B-roll or footage that needs to be used to make a better story and more visually stylized story. I'll go ahead and select this now and press delete. And I'll press delete since this is not part of this edit. Now, typically after I do my basic editing over here, I may want to add music. Now, this will be my next step in this process. So let me show you how to add music. And if you look down here, you see this little music icon. There is a track just for audio like music dedicated, so you don't put it on the video track. And I imported a music file right here. You could see it has the same icon. I could drag and drop it down here. And I'll go to the very beginning so it starts there. And you can see this is now my music track. Again, I have this on mute right now, but if I take my playhead over here and if I press play, you could see right over here, there's an audio mixer right here that's showing me my audio. I just clicked it to make it bigger. That's my audio playing right now. As long as this doesn't hit red, it means the audio is not too overpowering or too loud, and I'm good to go. Now, again, this music goes far beyond my edited video. So what I need to do is come over here. I could bring the playhead right to the end here, select this music track, and then I could use the scissor icon and it cut the music in half so I could select it and delete the rest. The other thing you typically do with music is you fade in and you fade out music. To do that, just double click on the music track. It's gonna bring in this section, and here you could fade in the music, typically maybe 1 second over here, or you could type in a number and fade out, usually a couple of seconds of fading out looks good. And there's some more advanced options like removing background noise that we won't get into right now, and we could press OK. So now we have a music that faded in and faded out. You could see that little slash right here, and I could always grab these 2 arrows here and change the duration of the fade in and the fade out down here. But now let's talk about where I got this music file. You have a couple ways to get music here on Filmora. One is you go to the audio tab. We haven't talked about these because we're about to go through all these different tabs right now. The audio tab has some music tracks included depending on which version of Filmora you have. So you could actually grab the music from here and then use it in your project that way. I found this a little bit limited, so I typically buy royalty-free music, especially when I'm going on YouTube, because I don't want to get any type of copyright strike using music I don't have the right to use. And this is the website where I get my music. I'll put an affiliate link in the description to this website. And the reason why I like this website is because look at this, 62,000 tracks I have access to. I could press play on any of them, see if I like it, and just press download. And it's unlimited downloads for 1 monthly price. I don't have to pay for each song. This is incredible, especially for more advanced editing projects, or if you really want to mix it up for your YouTube content, you could go ahead and use this platform. And they also have other things like stock video as part of that same price. So sometimes I find other video clips here that I didn't shoot myself to make my videos a lot more entertaining. So music is over here under this tab. You could also use stock video, graphics. This has a ton of stuff. So I recommend you check this out even if you decide not to go with it. So that's adding music here to Filmora. Okay, so now we have our edit, we have our music. What's next? Typically, after I add audio and music, I go to title. Let's go to title and see our titles here. And there's a ton of advanced pre-built titles here that you could use. Now, with titles, let me go ahead and drag one of these down here. Again, I'm going to put it on another video track. So I would even make another video track. You could go ahead and bring this up, for example, to add a third video track if your second one was taken up. And let me go here with my playhead just to show you what that title looks like. I'll go in the beginning, I'll press play, and there's a cool title animation here. So you could get a little bit of a preview on these, and let's say I actually like this one. So I'm gonna select this one, press delete, and I'll bring this one down here in the beginning. And actually, let me bring it over here on this top of this clip. It's a little bit easier to see. There we go. So how do you edit a title that you found over here and brought down? And look at this, there's a ton of different titles to use here on Filmora. So check them out. Double click it, and it loads this title editor here. And here is your text. So you could type in your text here. You have a ton of different fonts to choose from. You have font sizes that you could change over here. You could change the color over here. So if this is too hard to read, maybe this should be black or gray. I could go ahead and change it to pretty much any color I want using this color wheel over here. You have text spacing and you have positioning. So I could bring this up here, or I could put it in the center, put it on the left side. Again, depending on which one you use, you may want to change it. And you could change the scale of it over here. So you could shrink it up and down, and you could change the position of it over here too. So I'm gonna bring it a little bit left or right. And you even could change the opacity of it or the blend mode of it. Now this is getting a little more too advanced, but I just wanted to show you all the things that are possible under the title tab. Let me go ahead and delete that for now, but that's working with titles. And again, look how many different titles you have to work with. You also have credits over here you could use. You have these lower third titles. So if someone was talking on screen, you could go ahead and direct it by and change their name here. All these text here that you see are completely editable. You could put your own, you could change the presets. You could even change the animation over here on how they come into your shot. But again, that gets a little bit more advanced. This is a beginner's guide, but those are what's available to you under the title tab. Next to titles, you have transitions, and this is very, very useful, but it could also get really out of control because look at how many transitions you have to work with. And some of them really make your edit cheesy. So let me show you what I typically do as a professional editor. I use dissolve and I use fade. So to add a dissolve, all you have to do is grab it. You could get a little preview of what that looks like. So it's gonna go from one clip to another, or I could drag it and drop it between two clips here. So let me go ahead and press play on that. And it goes from one clip to another clip, just like that. So it's very, very simple to add dissolves. Fade is the same thing, bring it between two clips. Let me go ahead and press play over here with the space bar and just fade it to black and then fade it out. And they're all editable. You could select them. It should get you this window here so you could decide how that's going to change. You could change the duration. You could decide if it's going to be in the beginning of the clip or in the middle of the two clips or at the end of the clip. That's going to change a little bit on how it's going to look. And you have a ton of other ones, like this is what I mean by cheesy. If I use a cube, for example, let me just show you what that looks like. And that typically ages your video and makes it look like it's made in the 90s. So I stay away from just about every transition except these two. And there are some other useful ones, so you can kind of try them and see if they work out for you. But this has a lot of different transitions that you could just drag and drop. And typically after transitions, I get to effects and color correction. Now let me go over to the effects window next to transition. Now to add an effect, let me just use this black and white one. I'll drag and drop it on top of the clip I want affected. You could see it completely changed how that clip looks. So you could add any of these effects and it will help with the color or just kind of stylize it exactly how you want. And there's a ton of them to choose from. But that's not really color correction. That's adding effects and there's a ton of different ones to choose from. How do you color correct? Let me select this clip, and when I have a clip selected, you could see all the options we've used here so far. There's another one that's for color. Let me select this one and I'll choose color correction. And it opens this new window here, and let me go ahead and press play so it starts the clip here. And I have a bunch of different styles I could use, so this gives me a lot of preset color corrections I could just apply easily to my clip. And I could also adjust. Again, this gets much more advanced, and this is showing you some histogram and things that more advanced editors use, but you could go ahead and use some of these to really tweak your color temperature, for example, making it cooler or warmer. You could change the tint of your shots. A lot of different options like vignetting are all available over here that you could try out. But typically presets get you very close to what you need by just dropping one of these presets and then pressing OK, and it will change your clip here in your timeline to that preset. And sometimes you do want to, before you finish up your project, zoom into a shot or crop into a shot. So you could select the shot, and there's an option here for cropping. Let me select this, and it opens up a cropping window where you could go ahead and just drag the corners here to just zoom into a shot. So I'll just make this smaller, and I'll move this window to just zoom into my subject over here. And then I'll press OK, and it changes my shot completely. Now it's not that white shot that I had, and it cropped into it. So that one does come in quite handy, and that's cropping into your shot inside of Filmora. Now for this step, I'm just going to show you an overview of some more advanced features that are available here, and then we'll get into exporting and delivering our project or posting it online. So some of the more advanced ones are under elements. You have a lot of different layovers that you could choose. So for example, this layover, I could drag and drop it to another video track, and it's pretty advanced here. It puts some animation just like that on top of my video clip. So that's pretty cool. And you have a ton of different ones to choose from. You could just drag and drop them over here and then go and press play to see what it looks like. So you get the idea here. These are very, very simple to use. Drag and drop on top of your clip, and then you could go ahead and press spacebar. You could see none of these work with my project, but it may work for your project. So I definitely recommend you browse through these effects. Then you have split screen. This is really interesting. Let me grab the split screen. Let's choose this one right here, and I'll drag it down here. And it just tells me here's the drop area for 1 clip, 2 clips, and 3 clips. I could just drag clips and then bring them over here. Here's clip 1, here's clip 2, here's clip 3. And just like that, I've created the easiest split screen I've ever created on any editing software. You could also change the speed of a clip. Let me show you how to do that. You could select the clip and then click the speed option, and then you could slow it down. You can make it fast, or you could type in custom speed. I'll do custom speed. Now you want this to go twice as fast, so I'm gonna type in a 2 over here, and I'll press enter, and it's gonna change the duration of my whole edit here, so I may have to tweak my music here. So I typically do this before I add music, but now with speed, I could go ahead and press play, and it doubled the speed of that clip. So that's the speed option. You could also work with green screen over here. I don't have any green screen footage to work with, but that's over here. You could add voiceover. So this microphone icon lets you record voiceover by getting access to your built-in microphone. I usually use an external microphone called a Yeti microphone, and then I could press record over here, and it's going to record everything that I'm saying. So you could see on a new audio track is recording what I'm saying. If I press OK, you could see that's the voiceover I just recorded on a separate audio track than my music track. And those are some of the advanced features, and it has a lot more even than what I'm showing you here. But I want to get you to exporting your project. So how do you export a project? Well, when your editing is complete, let me go ahead and delete these. Let's say this is my edit and it's complete. I could go ahead and press export up here. And again, this requires you to buy a full version, or you could export with a watermark. Let me go ahead and export with a watermark. And this export window has some options for you, including you could go directly to YouTube. You could sign in and directly export to YouTube. I never do this on any editing platform. You could go to Vimeo, same concept. You could sign in and directly export there. For some reason, they still have DVD, but I haven't made a DVD in about 5 years. Then you have format. This is typically where you want to be. An MP4, if you're going to the web, any website on the web, MP4 is typically the best bet that you could choose. So I'm going to choose that. If you're making a commercial or something that you want to put on TV, Apple ProRes will be better. But right now I'm going to choose MP4. You could name your video over here, save to output, or decide where it's going to save on your computer. I typically choose the desktop or make a folder that I know exactly where it's at. Resolution, this is in 4K, but yours may be different. But let me press settings because I want to show you these. You could decide just simply by selecting one of these options. I usually select best. Encoder is H.264. That's perfect. That's what YouTube likes too. Resolution really depends on the footage that you use. This is 4K. This is HD. Typically, this is okay. Frame rate, it's already going to know that from your project. Typically, I shoot in 24. That's okay. This bit rate is important. So if I go higher, you could see it's changing the quality over here. So better, good. That's basically what the bit rate is. The higher the bit rate, the better quality you have, but the bigger file size you're going to have. So typically, just select best over here. Let this decide for you. Press OK, and then you could press export. And you can see it's exporting my footage. And if I want to get rid of the watermark, I just have to press buy up here after this export's done and get the full version of Filmora. Thanks again for watching this video. Again, in the description below, I'll put more resources as I come across more resources or create more videos. So make sure you check that out. And I hope you benefited from this editing tutorial. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.